Jai Shri Krishna and welcome to all of you in the session of freedom from pains and miseries to happy, healthy and peaceful life. And today's session 7 is free yourself from fear of death and of course miseries. So we will be covering mainly Gita verses chapter 2, 27 and 28. And pranam to Guruji, Aparihärye Maharaj, with whose blessings and guidance we are all here. So pranam Guruji, we had the good session with you this morning and pranam. And this session, as I said, it is based on his guidance, beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And with his guidance, the path to Anandam started. And all these books, what you see, it's all his blessings. So Charan Pranam Guruji again to you. And today's series 7, as I mentioned before, that the main book is being used here is 108 mantras to awaken your soul. Though it's very difficult to select the verses out of beautiful 700 verses from Bhagavad Gita. However, these verses were selected based on the self-transformation. And also I consulted many other 108 mantras and many of them matched. And we will be covering the two approaches today, which we have already covered one approach to understand what is body and soul. And today we will have the new approach from Gita verse 227, birth and death. And why not grieve? Why not be sad? But how to overcome the sadness of difficulties in life, including death. And tip of the day, practices, meditation, and question and answers. So we start our prayers with when Arjuna became a student, when he was disheartened, he was confused, he was full of fear of death, where he had the concern about losing his family members and also incurring the sins by killing them. Confused, worried, and of course, he was more concerned about his family. And finally, he gave up and he said, Na jätasya govindam, I will not fight the battle of life. And who was the hero became the zero. However, he had the divine company with him, where he sought for his guidance, because he became self-aware that he cannot perform his duty anymore. After analyzing that he could not even stand anymore, he's so totally confused. And he asked for advice, very humbly, and prays to Lord Krishna. And we are the Arjuna of today, where we pray to Lord Krishna and ask for his advice to run our life smoothly. Karpanya dosho pahat svabhava paschami tvam dharma samudcheta yachryasyani nishchitam bruhitan me shishyaste aham chadimam tvam prapanyam shishyaste aham chadimam tvam prapanyam. And then Lord Krishna delivers this divine, timeless wisdom, not to just take his dilemma, because Arjuna was there in dilemma and Lord Krishna was helping him to make the decision, and delivers this infinite knowledge, spiritual guide that unfolds the secret of birth and death. It teaches step by step how to live happily, die peacefully, and also attain freedom from shackle of rebirth, the cycle of birth and death. And guides us what is the purpose of our life. How can we get out of these pains and miseries and problems of every day of our life, where we get upset, we get sick, we lose our sleep, we get jealousy, we get confused, all kind of issues we have. But with his song, Gita, the song of God, sang by Lord Krishna for all of us like a lori, and blessed us the possibilities that yes, with this boat, you can sit in this boat where you can go from one shore, miseries, to the Anandam shore. Get out of prasad, get out of vishad and get the prasad, out of problems and get the solution, and finally attain the purpose of life. He spoke 574 verses from chapter 2:11 to all the way to chapter 18, verse 66. That was his last verse. Through those verses, he explains this birth and death, who we are, what should be the purpose of our life, and how can we attain it by doing our karma, converting every karma into karma yoga, every emotion into bhakti yoga, love and devotion, and any wisdom we gain in this world, turn that wisdom into a gyan, not just what we are talking and we are speaking and listening, but bringing in our hands. This session is for applied Gita. How can we apply in our life? Because God, here, very first part which we are covering today, Gita is an Atma Darshini. It gives us the wisdom of Atma, who we are. We have covered these verses so far. Prior to that, of course, we covered Dhritarashtra's very first verse. Then we just prayed, which was a second verse from 108 mantras. And these 5 verses we have covered previously in sessions, where Lord Krishna says, Ashocanya anvasocasvatvam pragyavadansya bhashate gatasunascha nanu shuchanti pandita. You grieve for those who should not be grieved, and yet you speak like a pandit. In other words, he's telling him, you are not a pandit, you are ignorant person right now. Because Arjuna was very knowledgeable. He was like a Pandit. But due to these, his attachment and emotions, he came to a very low self-conscious level where he lost all of his wisdom because he was covered by attachment. And ego means, मैं लड़ूंगा, मुझे लड़ना है. So he thought he was fighting himself. So Lord Krishna takes him and tells him, Dehino asmin yatha dehe komaram yovnam zara tatha dehantar prapti dhiras tatra namuhati. Just as the living entity continuously passes in the body from childhood to youth to old age during this life, similarly, Atma passes into another body after death. The wise are not confused by him. He's reminding him, you are not a wise here because you are confused. And then he tells him that what are the causes of your turmoil right now, because you are slaved by your senses and the sense objects. You are feeling your sense objects here are your family members. And then he tells him, Matra isparshaste konte, shitoshan sukha-duùkhe, agam paino nitya, tastiti shasto bharata. Hey Arjun, the context between senses and sense objects gives rise to the feeling of heat and cold, pain and pleasures, what you are experiencing. They are transitory, they come and go. Therefore, develop the divine endurance, which we had covered it in previous 2 sessions. And then he also tells him, Nasato vidite bhavo, na bhavo vidite sata, ubhyor api drashtant, yo tattva yo ubhyor tattva darshabi. Ubhyor api drashtant, tattva yo tasmäd tattva darshabi. The visible world, whatever we see here, our physical body, whatever we are seeing right now is all transitory. After this, the session will end. So it becomes the history, means it's a transitory. We are moving with every breath. We are moving from next breath to closer to our death. So therefore, understand this. And who understand this? The seers of knowledge. The people who know the difference between birth and death. And again reminds him, be that wise person. And then he also tells him that body is temporary, but Atma is permanent. Nenam chidanti shastrani, nenam dheti pavaka, na chainyam kaldyan tampo, na shochati maruta. Hey Arjun, weapon cannot cut this Atma. It's permanent. It's a fireproof. It's a waterproof. It cannot be wet with the water. And this wind does not even dry it. So it's a windproof, it's a fireproof. It's proof from all the worldly turmoils. Therefore, you should focus on not grieving. And why not you grieve? These are the 2 verses we will be covering. Why? Because he, in the previous option, he tells him that this is the body and this is the soul. Body is deteriorating, growing, going from childhood to adult, and then adult to deteriorating and becoming the old, and then again taking the birth. And he also tells him that, look, birth and death are the 2 sides of the coin. If you do the good karma, you get a good life. But if you do a bad karma, you might become an animal. And then you might come to a human body, but this is, so respect your human body, and not only just respect it. Here, this is the accept it. This is the main message here. Death is inevitable when you are born. So one who has taken the birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, it is unavoidable. Discharge of your duty. Now he's taking him to different subject, reminding him about his duty as a Kshatriya. Therefore, you should not become sad. You should not become confused. So in summary, what is death and what is birth? Death is the interval between two lives. That's what Sathya Sai Baba said. To assume a body is birth, and to cast off the same is death. Death is disconnection of body, breath, and spirit. Birth and death are two sides of the coin, as I said. So death is certain for all. Death is beyond our control. Hardest truth of life. And it is the ultimate reality of life. Death is not the final destination of life, which Gita teaches us later on also. And it's not an evil act, but it's a divine act. It's a divine play. So birth may not be certain for all, but death is certain. So death is the number one wonder in this world. We think Taj is the one wonder, 7 wonders in the world, but birth is the number one wonder, where everybody understands when somebody dies and forgets it as soon as next moment or after a period of time. So I thought we should also understand this science behind the fear, because there are many fears in life, but death is the biggest fear. We may not fear for ourselves, but we definitely fear for our loved ones. And it is the greatest barrier to live happily, healthy, and peaceful life, because we worried. And due to our worries, here it shows that fear, worry, anxiety causes stress. And this is the physiology of the fear process and its effects. So what happens when we get the fear? Our brain releases the ACTH, it's the hormones, which gives the message. Here you can see it just releases here. It goes to mind. Brain releases ACTH. It transfers to our adrenal gland, our stomach area. It's cortisol and other stress hormones, which is we call toxin. And for that reason, sometimes our muscles get tense, we get high blood pressure, our physiological systems and our heartbeats goes up, we start having the shortening of the breath, the blood pressure goes up or down depending, and immune system gets weak. Our attitude becomes very negative, and ultimately this is all is in simple language, or in one word, it is called stress, which causes the unhappiness, unhealthy life, and of course, no peace. And no peace in life means when easiness is gone, it means that it's diseasiness comes, means disease comes. So fear emotions are very detrimental to our physiological body and emotional health. Actually, it is called muscular tension, the flight, fight, or freeze. So basically our physiological system shut down. So fear is the greatest barrier to happy, healthy, and peaceful life. I just brought this one just to remind everybody, although you might already know, that every Gita's verse has a philosophy, what to do, how to do it. And there is a science behind it. It connects with spirituality and what are the benefits by following the teachings of Gita. And ultimately, we attain the happy, healthy, and peaceful life and realize who we are. We are Satchit Ananda. So steps for healing and moving forward. The one verse which we talked about, jätasya dhruvo janma tasya tasmäd aparihärye rthe çocitum arhasi. That even though we know it is body and atma, and Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, even if you don't understand the concept of atma, at least whoever is born is going to die, which we just read about and we just talked about it. So consider just as a face value that this is the body, and when we are born, we are going to die. So why to worry about it? And to me, easy said than felt. We all have those experiences. Whenever we lose our loved ones, it takes a long time for us to get out of that sadness. But here, Lord Krishna gives a very good formula, the best formula. And he says that how you should heal yourself and move forward. And he gives 3 steps where he says, sukha-duùkhe samay kratva, läbhäläbhau jayäjayau, tato yuddhäya yujyasva, nevam papam vyapsi. This verse serves the purpose, twofold purpose here. One, he telling Arjuna, he's motivating Arjuna to get up and get engaged and perform your duty instead of complaining, instead of feeling sad, instead of getting confused, because this is the divine play. This is your dharma. As a kshatriya, you're supposed to perform your duty and protect the society. But due to your confusion, you have forgotten that. So get up. He's guiding him, motivating him. That tato yuddhäya yujyasva. Since it is your duty, this is your karma yoga. You are not doing it for yourself, because Arjuna said he doesn't want to fight. Doesn't want anything in this world. He just wants to save everybody's life. But Lord Krishna says, no, this is already planned due to other people's karma. So whatever I have, you are here as an example, as a nimit. I made you as a nimit here. So you will not incur any sin. He wants to ensure him, because Arjuna he had 2 things. One, he was fearful. Other thing, he was thinking, oh, I will incur the sins. And Lord Krishna says, no, you're not going to incur the sins, because this is the divine play. This is your dharma yudh. You are going to establish the righteousness through this. So be an example in the society. So he's motivating him to get up and perform his duty. At the same time, he's telling him, sukha-duùkhe, this is for all of us. This life, kabhi khushi, kabhi gam, sukh aur dukh aayega. But you should be indifferent. You should start treating that as equanimity, like loss and gain, victory and defeat. He tells Arjuna, forget about whether you are going to lose or win. Just focus on performing your duty. Similarly, we should also consider whatever comes in our lives. Samta, Lord Krishna says samta here. Samme kratva, samta. This samta word has come more than 70 times in Bhagavad Gita, because unless we develop the equanimity, we cannot move on in our life. All the time, if we are a basket of emotions, kabhi khushi, kabhi gum, kabhi ro rahe hain, kabhi kood rahe hain, life is not going to take us there. And we cannot attain or realize our true nature, who we are. So he says, fight for the sake of duty and follow your dharma. You will not incur the sins and pay off your previous debts and karma. We need to pay attention here. As I said, it's the best formula. Why? Because whatever happens in our life, two things we do, whether we are happy or we are unhappy. We are happy, we are enjoying, partying and everything, okay? Many times we might say, thank you, God, for giving me this happiness, giving me this blessing. But most of the time we forget and we think we are the doers. So our ego is start touching the sky. At the same time, if something goes wrong in our life, we blame other people because it happened to me because of you. It happened to me because I did this. So I start downgrading ourselves, blaming others. And sometimes it gets to the point where we start fighting with other people, or if we don't fight, at least in our mind, it happens with the siblings, with husband and wife, and with partners and with colleagues. All the time we might not say it, but in mind our say, oh, it happened to me because of this person. This is the time we have to pay attention to it, that why it is happening to me, because this is my litmus test. I have to improve upon it and focus on self-improvement, that what are the things I am not equanimous about it, and I should develop those skills to be not affected with these things and do it better and better, rather than criticizing and blaming others. Because by blaming and criticizing others, we are incurring more sins. So whatever comes to us, we are paying back our loans from previous life or this life, whatever misdeeds we have done or mistakes we have done. So we should take it gracefully. But if we don't take it gracefully and continue to blame and fight and criticize and being judgmental, then what happening? We are incurring more and more sins. So whatever loan we have taken, instead of paying, we are taking more loans in our life by incurring more sins. So I put this image here. See, these are the chains of our previous lives. But God gives us the opportunity to go beyond it. One by one, break those chains and fly free. And that's what our focus should be, to go beyond the cycle of birth and death, because this is the cause of our birth and death. So attain the purpose of life and realize who we are by accepting the grace of God, that whatever comes into us, sukha-duùkhe, läbhäläbhau, jayäjayau, whatever comes, this is all based on our karmas and blessing of God. So when dukh comes, does not mean whatever misdeeds happen, but it's the blessing of God, that God is giving us opportunity to get out of it, break that chain and move on, do the self-transformation. And that's what Gita is all about. So purpose of life is sato mam satgamya, tamso mam jyotirgamya, mrityur mam amritam gamya, which we pray at the every end of meditation and the session. So our time is for our sankalpa. And as I summarize it, that today is the day for our 7th sankalpa. But our first sankalpa knew of me. Second sankalpa, I am Arjuna, which we repeated today. I am awakened because I know I am a soul. Body is temporary, I am eternal, and develop the divine endurance because I am pure Atma. My body is temporary. And today, I am fearless. So today's sankalpa, to remove the fear from us and move toward happy, healthy, and peaceful life. So no matter what it is, we should develop more equanimity and work toward being the fearless. So our next session is meditation. I know the truth. I am fearless. This is a beautiful saying from Buddha. Somebody asked him, what have you gained from meditation? And he replied, nothing. However, he said, let me tell you what I lost: anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, and fear of old age and death. So meditation has so many benefits, and we should continue to gain that benefit by doing the meditation. So thank you very much. Attending this, free yourself from fear of death and leading toward happy, healthy, and peaceful life.